Thom Hartmann here on the news. You need to know this. We could be just hours away from filibuster reform in the Senate. Last night, Senate Majority Leader Harry Reid said he's giving Republicans 24 to 36 hours to come to the table and agree on some sort of filibuster reform. But, he said, if Republicans don't do it, then he'll proceed on his own. Democrats will fight to change the rules of the Senate and curb some of the obstructionism we've seen over the last 4 years in the upper chamber. Reid must choose between two options for filibuster reform. There's an ambitious reform plan promoted by Senators Jeff Merkley and Tom Udall, who would put in place a talking filibuster, requiring the minority to stand on the floor of the Senate and actually talk the entire time they wish to filibuster legislation. And there's a more moderate reform plan which preserves the minority's silent filibuster, but cuts down on how many times they can filibuster a particular piece of legislation. While most progressive organizations have endorsed the Merkley-Udall talking filibuster reform, it's unlikely Senator Reid has the votes among Democrats to pass such a plan, and he will likely settle on a more moderate approach. But if Democrats want to sweep the midterm elections in 2 years and retake the House of Representatives, then they have to pass legislation out of the Senate and show the American people their agenda and how it differs from the agenda of House Republicans. Strong filibuster reforms may be the only way to accomplish this. Call your senator today and tell him to support the Merkley-Udall talking filibuster reform. In screwed news, labor strikes are now a thing of the past. As Matt Brunig has discovered, working people aren't going on strike nearly as much as they used to 40 years ago, despite the fact that they've suffered through 30 years of flattening wages and watching their jobs be shipped overseas. 40 years ago, there was an average of nearly 300 work stoppages involving more than 1,000 workers every single year. But in 2009, that number dropped all the way down to 5. Just 5 major work stoppages a year. On the flip side, lockouts are on the rise. Lockouts occur when management locks workers out of the job, and they now represent a record percentage of work stoppages around the nation. This is the result of less democracy in the workplace, stemming from conservatives busting up unions since the time of Reagan. And when unions decline, so too does the middle class's share of national income. The billionaire class has absolutely neutered organized labor. That's why it's so important to support and nurture those few labor strikes we've seen recently, from the Walmart workers to the fast food workers in New York City to the Chicago Teachers Union. When working people get organized and get active, progressive change follows. In the best of the rest of the news, as much as Republicans want to call the president's inaugural address far left, the reality is the president is just agreeing with the majority of the American people. The president's speech featured homages to gay civil rights, to a pathway to citizenship for undocumented immigrants, and to action on climate change. Where do the American people stand on these issues? A USA Today poll showed that 53% of Americans approve of marriage equality. An ABC Washington Post poll showed that 57% of Americans approve of a pathway to citizenship for immigrants. And an AP poll found that 80% of Americans believe climate change is real, is happening, and it's a serious problem. America has been a left-leaning nation all along. It's just been led astray by 32 years of Reaganism. Now the nation is finally finding itself again under the leadership of Barack Obama. America is a liberal nation. It has been since its founding, and Republicans need to come to terms with that or their party will go extinct like the Whigs did. On Tuesday, the U.S. Court of Appeals ruled in favor of the Drug Enforcement Agency and declined to change the official drug classification of marijuana. Currently, the DEA classifies marijuana as a Schedule I drug, which is reserved for the most dangerous types of drugs that have absolutely no medicinal benefit. In fact, drugs like cocaine, opium, and morphine are listed as Schedule II drugs, which mean that they are safer and have more medicinal value than marijuana. The plaintiffs in the case presented more than 200 peer-reviewed studies that showed the benefits of medicinal marijuana. And Governor Lincoln Chafee in Rhode Island and Governor Christy Gregoire in Washington both called for marijuana to be rescheduled. But the court wasn't swayed, ultimately ruling that they are obligated to defer to the agency's interpretation of controlled substances. It's clear that the battle for sensible drug reform will not be won on a federal level. It will be won in the states, and has already been won in Washington State and Colorado. And finally, the NRA is so full of itself that it decided to deliver an official response last night to President Obama's inaugural address. The organization's foaming-at-the-mouth CEO, Wayne LaPierre, defended his organization's absolutism and called it a virtue. He also spread more lies about the gun control plans coming out of the White House, saying, "There are only 2 reasons for that federal list of gun owners, to tax them or take them." Of course, neither is true. Not once has President Obama called for guns to be taxed or confiscated. And the real reason for tracking firearms is for law enforcement to be more able and better able to keep track of stolen guns and to trace guns used in crimes back to their owners. The more Wayne LaPierre and the NRA speak up, the more we see just how out of touch they are with the mainstream of America. The best TV ad for gun control is to play Wayne LaPierre speeches over and over and over and over again. And that's the way it is today, Wednesday, January 23rd, 2013. I'm Thom Hartmann on the news.